And Joseph Smith shows up and he's like, I was released from prison.
Did they censor out the truth for this film? See his mouth continuing to move like an old Godzilla boom.
Yeah,
released from prison. Fuck a child. Oh, sorry, they kept the fuck a child part.
Yeah, this movie is the Bill Barr summary of Mormon history.
Yeah, right. Yes.
God awful movie.
Welcome back to the GAMcast, where each week we sample another selection from Christian cinema because we still don't know any better. I'm your host, No Illusions, and unfortunately we're going to be Heathless this week. He's in California at the moment. Of course, so are we, but we're here. It's complicated, but the big key takeaway is that sitting 900 miles to my northeast is my bad friend Eli Bosnick. Eli, how are you this fine afternoon, sir?
It's Mormon Movie Month-tacular.
There's no tacular on this, Eli. It's
here
just
last
Mormon
tag. I wrote a song. 1 second.
No, I don't think that you did write a song. I think that you're just going to randomly sing whatever you're thinking in the da 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 as your tune. That's what I think.
No, I won't mean.
No, but that's the thing, though. It is Mormon Movie Month once again, 3 times now. This is the 3rd annual Mormon Movie Month. And that means, of course, that it's time to welcome back our resident expert in all things Mormon. Bryce Blankenagel is the host of the Naked Mormonism podcast. He's an Exmo, and he knows way more about people named Hiram than anyone I've ever met. Bryce, welcome back, sir.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Hiram, that's an interesting name selection there, but I feel like we're going to get into it.
Yeah, some Hirams might come up along the way. All right, so Heath's away. This falls to you. Tell us, Bryce, what will we be breaking down today?
Ooh, I get to do this episode. All right, let me get this just right. Okay, we watched Legacy, the story of the Mormon pioneers. It's a childhood favorite of mine, and it's the story of the Mormon pioneers. If the subtitle didn't make it clear.
It's like the Grand Canyon of titling your movie. What is it? It's quite a grand. Okay, so Eli, how bad was this movie?
Well, if you love American history, but you hate all the history, you will love David Barton.
Well, that's
true. If you're a Mormon too, you'll love this movie.
Yeah, no, this is Mormonism meets David Barton. This is Mormon David Barton's movie. Yes.
Yeah, build that wall. Oh, no, not the constitutional one. No, the brown people one. Yeah, no. Okay.
All right. So is there anything you guys want to nominate this one for being the best at being the worst at?
I have best worst. History is whatever the fuck I say it is.
Oh.
And I feel like that was my response the last time I was on when we did the Joseph Smith movie, and that was bad. But this movie is a whole different level. This is the celestial kingdom of capital R revisionist history. This is like the dragons in the Bible were dinosaurs version of Mormon history.
Except there's photographs and shit.
Yeah.
Of the not dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I was going to go with best worst overstock on title cards. Okay, so, right, so this follows the Mormon pioneers from Kirkland, Ohio to Salt Lake City or wherever the hell they started to Salt Lake City. And it does so with every little stop. Like if they stop to pee, right, there's a scene in that city and it'll come up with a little title, its own little title card. And it'll be like, we were at, Mormon Piss Bend on October 13th, 1842. And then one scene later, there's another title card. It's like, then we didn't need that scene, guys.
When the crux of your history is, look how many cities we got kicked out of. That's how bad we are. Maybe you don't double down on the title cards are not helping you.
Right, exactly.
Maybe it's not the rest of the world. And, what a great microcosm this movie is of how spoon feeding the cinematography is, right? They leave absolutely nothing to mystery. They tell you everything so bluntly. And like they don't leave anything up to like artistic license or interpretation. It's like, this is the narrative. You're going to eat this or I'm going to shove it down your throat.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of which, I had best worst incest complex. Now, I know some people like to watch the movies along with us. This one is on YouTube, so, you don't have to give anybody money for watching it. And the woman who is the center of this movie, every time someone makes romantic advances to her, she cannot help but compare them to a family member.
Yep.
Over and over and there are Pornhub categories writing this woman a note being like, can you tone it down a little? It's gross and it's taking me out of it. Can I just say that? You're taking me out of it.
All right, so there's only 53 minutes in this movie, but it takes longer to correct a lie than to tell one. So we're going to keep the break brief, and when we come back, we'll dive into all the random historical assertions that are Legacy, the story of the Mormon pioneer.
Brother Smith.
Brother Smith.
Brother Patrick. Brother, other white name.
It's actually pronounced Otter Whitname.
Oh, Otter Wit. No, right. Okay. Got it.
Anyway, so we are very excited about the story of the Mormon pioneers movie.
Yeah. And we were just wondering, I mean, we're so excited. Could we maybe have a peek at the script?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Have a look.
All right.
Oh,
good, right?
It looks like this script is historically accurate.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe. Hey,
noise.
Could you? Zhuzh it up a bit. What if you zhuzhed it up?
Yeah.
What was that word? Zhuzh? You want me to zhuzh it up a bit?
I think what Brother Otter Whitname is saying is, you take out the genocide and some of the rape.
Yeah, pretty much all the rape.
All the rape,
accurate.
yeah. And then, zhuzh it up a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want me to change history to the extent that a cursory Google would prove what liars we are?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. I don't know. So zhuzh it up a bit.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
It's a Jew word.
Really?
Yeah. Zhuzh.
Are we pro?
Mormons?
Oh,
No.
Bryce.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on again.
Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Cool. So you guys want to, ready to start the movie or? What's up?
Yeah. We had a quick ad. So you mind just being here and helping us out with it?
Yeah. What are my lines?
They're right here on the page.
Okay.
The problem: premature ejaculation. Up to 39% of men experience it.
I don't want to do this. I'm Bryce Blankenagel.
Premature ejaculation can make men feel down on themselves, creating a vicious cycle of sexual anxiety and starting a boring history podcast.
My show's not boring.
That's not your line. Please read your line in the.
We wrote it down for you.
Yeah.
I'm Bryce Blankenagel.
But 4 hymns can help. They'll connect you to a doctor who can evaluate your condition and help find the right treatment for you. Bryce Blankenagel.
I'm Bryce Blankenagel.
Better yet, it can be delivered right to your door in discreet packaging that says, to Bryce Blankenagel, and not, here's that medication you ordered for your penis, Bryce Blankenagel.
I'm Bryce Blankenagel.
And right now, our listeners get a special offer. You can get started with hymns for just $10, even if you're not Bryce Blankenagel.
Just go to 4hymns.com/movies to get started. That's FORHIMS.com/movies.
See website for full details and safety information.
Why do I keep doing this?
Because we lured you with oyster crackers.
And we're back for the breakdown, and we're going to start things off with a quick disclaimer that says that while these stories of Mormon persecution are real, they're not. Everyone's cool with the Mormons now, though. Nobody hates Mormons anymore, and nobody makes fun of their magic underwear. Trust us on that. You're just fine, even outside of Salt Lake City. Just proudly proclaim you're Mormon when you move to New York. No one will think you're a weird cultist.
which means that someone finished this movie and they were like, guys, we got to warn people that this persecution is over. At long last, it's over. That's what I took away from this movie.
When the first 60 years of your history are marked by how many apostate bodies are buried in Utah wells, it kind of discourages that hate and strife. Just ask Catholicism about that prior to 1500.
Yes. All right. So we're going to start the movie off with the Mormons lifting their giant gold leaf statue under their temple of the Ricola mascot.
Because you know what these old-timey people who have the rickets look like? They need a giant golden statue of an angel.
Totes a Christian church. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's Jesus Christ is in the name. Of course it's Christian.
Yeah. So then, okay, I have this kid down as a junior sailor. I guess maybe you guys had a different interpretation of his Stave Puft Marshmallow Man outfit.
He looks like he couldn't decide between Lollipop Guild and Street Urchin, right? Like he just kept running back and forth between the meetings.
No, this was clearly a DI buy, and DI is the church's thrift store. So they got his little whole get up for about 50 cents.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's why we have Bryce here, so we know where the wardrobing came from.
Well, and this kid, he's like getting ready to get baptized, and then he goes and asks grandma if she got baptized. And all I could think of is like, if this is who I'm thinking it is, he needs to say, like, I hope your answer is quick, Grandma, because I still have to ask Grandma Engel and Grandma Decker and Grandma Adams and Grandma Cook, Grandma Partridge, Grandma Ross, other Grandma Ross, great Grandma Ross, Grandma B. You get the idea, right?
Yeah.
What's funny, by the way, guys, Bryce has written this into his notes. He only got a third of the way through the wives that he knows of. Like, literally 2/3 of that joke is still in there, unread. Amazing.
And I only included half of this kid's sister grandmas.
Jesus. All right. So she's like, did I ever get baptized? Bitch, I did it before it was cool. And then we doodly-do into her baptism story.
In upstate New York, 1830. And hey, I think both Heath and I can testify to this. Upstate New York hasn't changed that much.
It's pretty much the same now.
And this is really weird, too, because the narrative, like, she's our narrator for the entire movie, right? And it switches from this old lady, like, well, back in my day voice into, like, a young woman. And it's like, it's instantaneous, too. Like, the dubbing over of the dubbing is, it's very jarring. So it's like, back in my day, I brought home a Book of Mormon and started reading. It's very weird.
Yeah, and okay, so let's be super clear on what creepy shit is happening, because if you know how many people Joseph Smith fucked, this scene plays out very differently than it probably plays out in Mormon Sunday school. So
if you know who this is,
yeah,
you catch some of the little microtransactions that are going on between these people.
Right.
It's, very uncomfortable.
Women, they're just like loot boxes, Joseph Smith.
It's pay to fuck around here.
All right, so there's this 13-year-old girl, and she really digs the Book of Mormon. Her brother, Johnny, though, doesn't know about this Book of Mormon shit, right?
No, he doesn't like it.
All right, so yeah, and then we get the scene where she meets Joseph Smith. First of all, the actor portraying Joseph Smith is hilariously fuckable.
Oh, he might as well take his shirt off in the upstate summer heat and be like, sorry, I have what's known as a 46-pack. I hope that's not uncomfortable for you. And the best part of this is that, like, Joseph Smith looks like me without the grooming. So they have to keep some Joseph Smith things in. So they keep trying to, like, yeah, we'll put the hair color the same and, like, try and generally find someone with a face shape that's right. It's amazing. It's like if John Hamm just tried to step into this podcast as me and fake his way through it for the next 3 years.
And like the thing is too, this Joseph Smith, he knows that he's hilariously fuckable, right?
Oh yeah.
You could see it on his face. Like this guy, he drives a BMW and never uses his turn signal. And he's the kind of guy who like farts in the tub and then eats the bubbles just to see what it tastes like. That's this Joseph Smith. And
I love that that's a type of person for you, Bryce. That's a weird insight into your reality.
I got some weird friends. But this Joseph Smith, like, at least they age Eliza, the main character of the story. But this Joseph Smith, when you first see him, he's supposed to be 24 years old, which, fuck you. Look at the guy, right? But by the time he's dead, he's supposed to be 39 years old in the last scene that includes him. He doesn't change at all. At all. Same exact foofy hair, everything. It's incredible.
And look, there's a uncomfortable amount of sexual tension going on between this little girl, this 13-year-old girl, and this 25-year-old actor. That would be way less uncomfortable if I didn't know that in the real history he did fuck that little girl.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's amazing is that you could watch, not in Bryce's notes because he already knew this story, but in both me and Noah's notes are like, I don't trust that he was just nice to a kid. I'm going to Google if he fucked this kid. He fucked this kid.
Yep.
Identical journeys.
All right. My instincts serve me well. Yeah.
And this is where she says, it was there that I first heard the prophet speak of Zion, where we can finally live in a peaceful, sovereign theocracy and make war with the American government.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Right. No, they leave a lot of that part of the sentence out. But yes, all they tell us is that she wanted to follow Joseph Smith to Zion because that's where he was bringing his dick.
Oh, and Johnny does not like this.
Yeah, Johnny is very pissed off. He storms off, as a matter of fact. He leaves the whole family, right? Dad has become a Mormon, and Johnny's like, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots. The golden plate story, really? We're buying that?
Do you know who Joseph Smith is? Do you know how he made his money before this? Fuck you.
And look, if there's one thing that Mormon history has as a running theme, it is that they are constantly abandoned by their children who disagree with them. Am I right? Keep running out of the house.
Yeah, this movie actually does invoke a few of those cultural themes, and we're going to get to them.
Yeah.
But that happens repeated. It's like, there are a couple of things in this movie that I'm like, there's got to be an ex-Mormon on the writing crew. There has to be. And the very first one is like, we see that the whole interaction with Johnny, right? And also we see Johnny not finishing Ma's chair, right? So she brings this chair and she doesn't finish it. That's important because it's going to come back. And that is that chair in the later scenes. That's another signal that I'm like, they got an ex-Mormon on the writing staff and nobody in the actual filming crew knows it. But this writer is fucking brilliant.
Okay,
absolutely applaud.
I will say they were pretty impressed with themselves with this chair thing. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to title card our way to Independence, Missouri, 1831. And they're supposed to be in Zion. And the first thing we see is just horse shit trough roads. Right. I'm like, wow, that doesn't look like Zion. Okay, whatever. Streets of gold, streets of horse shit. Same thing. Oh, apparently. Well, I will say this. The paradise ain't in fucking Ohio. So this was a bad stop.
Right. And we see a town hall meeting where a local guy is objecting to the Mormons because they oppose slavery. Bryce,
yes,
is that what happened in Independence, Missouri?
So Mormons being opposed to slavery marks the first and only time they were on the right side of history.
Yeah. But let's be clear about it, though. It's not like the Missourians were sitting around going, oh, those damn abolitionist Mormons. That's the singular thing we hate about them.
So because it's a movie, they had to take some artistic license and simplify things. But like the whole opposition of Missourians against the Mormons is actually a lot more complex, and it makes a lot of sense, right? And it's always seen as like religious persecution, and that's only one small piece of the puzzle, like abolitionism was, right? Mm-hmm. But like Missouri was a largely unsettled land, right? So Andrew Jackson had just signed the Indian Removal Act in 1830 and began the campaign of stealing thousands of square miles from Native Americans and then auctioning off all of that land to be colonized by Americans with heavy subsidies. So basically, people could just move out to this land, put in crops, and then in 2 years, the government would be like, it's your land. Have fun.
Right.
As long as you're white. Right. So the Mormons started doing that, which amounted to them just squatting on the land. And they also moved in incredible numbers and started like electing people to, electing Mormons to government offices. And they voted as a block. So that was like really, really bad. People don't like you, like, you know, outsiders coming in and voting, you know, outnumbering your votes. They were also teaching freed slaves how to read with their Book of Mormon, which that was kind of one of the main things that kept slavery going as an institution for so long.
Hey, look, if there's anything that's going to turn slaves off of reading forever, I mean, I feel like they're doing a favor to the slave owners here.
Yeah. Excuse me. Hi. I have spent 26 years trying to escape my masters, but I just got to Alma. I would like to go back to the South and
I
be a
would like
slave.
to return myself, please.
Yeah. Well, and the most important part too is like, not only were they squatting, but they were stealing, right? So a revelation that Joe gave in 1831 says, quote, "I will consecrate the riches of the Gentiles unto my people, which are the house of Israel," end quote.
Well,
which the Mormons did. They were just stealing shit.
yeah, well, and here's the other thing, too, is that, like, when they're presenting this to Mormon children, I guess it's pretty bad that the guy's sitting there going, like, they're going to elect Mormon judges and they're going to elect Mormon mayors and stuff like that. But, like, imagine, like, in Salt Lake City, if a bunch of atheists or a bunch of fucking whatever, you know, a bunch of Baptists were moving in and they were like, man, they're going to elect Baptist judges and Baptist mayors and shit. The fucking Mormons would freak this shit out and they would sign the fucking Baptist removal proclamation or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, no. Like apply Islam to any of this, just substitute it out.
Right.
And it's 2019, right?
Yeah. All right. So, but the key, though, is that the bad slavers want to run off the Mormons. So they torch the Mormon shit and then they tar and feather a guy, which, I mean, I get that that's bad, but you're dressed like a chicken at the end. I can't feel bad for a man dressed as a chicken. That's too hilarious a torture.
Well, not only that, but like, look, there is some horrible stuff to the history of tarring and feathering, but not when it comes to white people. So they're playing the Schindler's music, right? It's like, and the guy's just like, I look all silly now. You know how hard it is to shower in the 1800s? You guys are jerks. These are my pants.
A detail in this that I had to pause it because I was laughing so hard. Now, I don't know if either of you guys noticed this, but when they're burning down the printing press, a guy rides his horse into the shop.
Yep.
Now, this is
then
a
sets
tiny
it on
shop
fire
with like machinery in it. He
Yes.
rides it with a fucking torch. Okay, have you ever ridden a horse in a confined area? How about a confined area that's on fucking fire?
Didn't seem like a great move. So now, okay, so they run them off from Missouri. Now they go to Clay County, Missouri, because they weren't done squatting in Missouri, but they're further from all the white people anyway.
And now, Bryce, again, sorry to make you be our historian here, but the narrator proposes it like this. We tried to get our land back, but, you know, that didn't quite work out. Is that what happened in Clay County, Missouri? Did the Mormons just nicely ask for their land back?
It was never their land to begin with. So, God, like it's really complex, right? Okay, so they did ask nicely for their land back, but the Missourians then proceeded to like war with the Mormons openly and like public riots and fighting in the streets and tarring and featherings and whippings and shooting somebody.
Until the city of Clay County where they were staying was like, hey, you guys got to get the fuck out. You said you were going to crash for like a week and a half and you fucked up my sofa. Who is this? A girlfriend? You can't bring her, man. This is weird.
Yes.
But also, Joe formed an army of 200 dudes and marched them the 800 miles from Kirtland to Missouri to redeem Zion, as they called it. And like, they never said, hey, we're the Mormons, we're going to make war with Missouri. But like, people would ride up to them during this mission trek, as they called it, Zion's camp, of this armed militia traveling across the plains, and people would ride up and say, hey, who are you? What's going on? They're like, oh, we're travelers from the east and we're headed to the west. Don't pay attention to us. And then Missouri was like, what the fuck? The Mormons are coming in and like hundreds of them are coming to kill us. Yeah, we're going to get rid of every single Mormon here. It was really messy.
Yeah, well, exactly. But rather than show us the bit where they have an armed fucking militia marching towards the Missourians that are pissing them off. They're just like, anyway, enough about Clay County. And here's the title card for the city of Far West, Missouri. It's 1836 now, guys. Moved on.
No, new title card. New title card.
Because I didn't know any of this shit. I was just like, did the fucking gift shop at the Mormon fucking museum in Clay County's temple pay for that scene or something? But now it makes way more sense.
This movie uses title cards the way I don't use dates on job applications, right? They're like, wow, you've had a lot of, 3 months. What happened? You stole a bunch of shit? Yeah, you stole a bunch of shit.
All right, but when they get to Far West, Missouri, and that's when Brother Johnny, who ran off all those years ago, shows up.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah, there we go. Now, he's super sorry. He wasn't around when Mama died. He brought the chair, though. Remember the chair? He brought the chair that he never finished for Mama.
The chair comes back. Yep.
And there's this amazing moment where Johnny's like, Dad, can you ever forgive me? And he's like, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
What a weird moment to put in your movie.
Like holds his hat down at his waist and like waddles back and forth, kicks a rock. Maybe. Yeah, but then we get introduced to, I have like, this is not the Payless, but the Ross Jamie Presley. And oh my God, she is gorgeous.
You're talking about Sister Catherine.
Oh, yes. We like Catherine.
I'm sorry, guys. You can have Sister Catherine. This is also the first time we see grown-up Eliza. And grown-up Eliza is crazy amounts of hot. Oh, I was absolutely in love with Eliza there.
Look, I'll tell you, there are benefits to Mormon Movie Month. We get to see attractive people 1 month a year.
Yeah, see, now that's the thing, though. But isn't that the thing? This is one of those moments where the Exmo actually snuck in some truth, because they're like, see, 2 beautiful women. That's how we're going to make Mormons, guys. That's how we got them suckered in, and that's how we're going to make Mormons. They were being really honest here.
And I revealed myself, right? I tipped my hand. I grew up in Utah, so I'm more attracted to the blonde hair, blue eyed one.
Yep, clearly.
The dark haired one. That's cool. That's cool.
Nazi. All right.
Yeah, okay.
So now we cut to 2 years.
Play the clip of him saying, build the wall. Right there. You all heard it.
All right. So now I have a clip of Eli saying that.
Mormons committed genocide. We're eugenics. We're eugenicists. No. Okay.
I have a clip of you saying
my grandpa.
that. That's
my
great.
grandpa did that.
Nice for you to give me that blackmail material. All right, so now it's 2 years later. It's March of 1838, and Dad is leaving on a mission trip.
With a self-neg? He's like, God always said that stupid idiots would preach the gospel. I mean, that's me all over. Is it me all over? Come on. All right, I'm going to abandon you guys and go to England to tell people about new Jesus.
I'm leaving in March 1838. I miss all the cool shit that happens here.
Yeah, right. Good timing. I also love, he's like, don't worry, Jacob is going to look after you. And she's like, look after? And he's like, that's exactly what you think it means. Yes, this 25-year older than you guy who's balding and disgusting and older than me is going to look after you. The two of you will be engaged when I get back, and I will not be weirded out by this.
Dad, how come you keep using air quotes every time you say look after you? What? No, I'm not. I'm just, I'm trying to scratch the air. He's going to see what you're doing. You slow down. Don't do that. Stop slowing down. No.
And this is the next moment where I'm like, there's an ex-Mormon writer on the staff here, because the old man, I call him Bilbo, right? He looks like Bilbo Baggins, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. When Bilbo's like grabbing for the ring, like his face is all fucked up, right? So he hugs Johnny. They have like the like reconciliation moment. And this is where Bilbo says to Johnny, don't just up and join the Mormon church because of a pretty face.
Yep.
And all I could think of was, you log on to the ex-Mormon subreddit and you will see how often this happens, where people join just because, God damn it, she's so pure and delightsome. Okay. Yep.
Pure and delightsome?
That's what they changed it from white and
delightsome. Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
In the 1980s,
All right. How progressive of them.
Look, I'm just saying, if you guys had gotten to me when I was 17, I'd be arguing with you on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
It's a good fucking movie, man.
So, all right. So now we're going to cut to Western England. And that was my favorite title card because that's not a place. I mean, England is a place and thus it has a West. But who the fuck, you wouldn't divide England into East and Western England? Where the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, Dad's missioning in Western England.
Oh my God. The accents here, I should say the non-accents.
Yes.
Oh, this is so Mormon.
Well, the one guy's trying so hard and then the next guy isn't trying at all, makes you miss the guy who is trying so hard, right?
I love, and he's like, and he just tries to do it by like going, what, pirate? Because he's like,
yes,
false prophets in sheep's clothing.
It was like the first guy was like so me doing an accent. The next guy was like Heath doing an accent, right? Because he walks up and he's just like, yeah, I'm British. What?
I'm from England. Yeah, it's like you're trying to start a fight with Andy Wilson at the bar at QED. Just like, oh, would you look at me? I'm Andy Wilson. I run a convention.
All right. But accentless British guy, he's a bit of a hunk too. He's not Joseph Smith hot, but he's pretty hot. He's pretty into this whole Mormonism thing. He's very excited about a chance to read Jesus 2.0. So he goes to buy his Book of Mormon. He's a penny short though. But David Bilbo's such a nice guy. He gives this guy a Book of Mormon 1 penny off.
Okay. It's your movie. You do not have to include the part where it's like, can I have that religious holy text? I mean, yeah, you got to pay shipping and handling fees, but yeah, if you pay me, you can join my religion.
Well, it's nice to know that, I mean, this movie even captured how they had to lower the price of the Book of Mormon. They started out at $1.25 and like, fucking 5 shillings and it's yours, bro. And also, Noah, I have to take exception with what you said about David because he is fucking gorgeous.
He's hot.
He is the chiseled jaw. He looks like a live action Tarzan. He is, oh my God. He's so profoundly gorgeous. And well, I mean, of course, yeah, you got to feel the foreshadowing because in the previous scene, Eliza was like, I never knew that mission would change my life forever. Then they show this similarly aged, beautiful man. And you're like, oh, all right, foreshadowing. Okay, this is the Mormon version of foreshadowing.
Apparently, yeah.
Yep.
All right, but David loves the Book of Mormon. Remember when they said this was based on true events? I told you it was bullshit then. But he loves the Book of Mormon, and he wants to be a Mormon, so he goes to see his Protestant priest and says, hey, man, is it cool if I just decide to be a Mormon? And the priest says, well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
Church of England. We've never cared that much. Look, you're going to do what you're going to fucking do. You want to help me sweep up around here? Catholic priests get to fuck kids, but I have to have ladies. It's the worst.
Well, and interesting too is, and I know Heath is going to love this, but this is like the scene of setting up the Mormon immigration program that funneled thousands of white Europeans across the Atlantic and into the Utah Territory while the Mormons were killing off thousands of Native Americans. So what we're seeing is the birth of the most successful, is probably the wrong word to use, American eugenics experiment in all of American history.
Yeah.
This is cool.
So now, it's pretty depressing when you think of the reality behind all this. Yeah. So now Eliza's back home. She's reading a letter from Dad about this very handsome British Mormon that he made. And the letter ends with like, and remember, if anyone comes to kill you, it's worth it because Joseph Smith isn't a huckster. And then as she's reading that part of the fucking note, like a mob shows up to kill them all. That's Mormon. That's Mormon foreshadowing right there for you.
Oh, yeah.
She starts to write him back. Dad, you will not believe this. Just as I was reading your letter. I'll tell you when you get back. I'll put this in my mouth if they kill me, and you can pry it out. You'll giggle. You'll have a chuckle.
Dad, you're missing all the action.
Yeah.
So this is interesting too, because this is where it's talking about the extermination. But the Missourians weren't the first ones to say, like, because this has the line, the Mormons must be treated as enemies. They must be driven from the state or, if necessary, exterminated. Right. Sidney Rigdon was a leader of the church. He was the first one to use the term extermination. And if you don't mind me, a brief quote from Sidney Rigdon. Quote, "We take God and all his holy angels to witness this day that we warn all men in the name of Jesus Christ to come on us no more forever. Giggity. For from this hour we will bear it no more. Our rights shall no more be trampled on with impunity. That man or set of men who attempts it does it at the expense of their lives. And that mob that comes on us to disturb us, it shall be between us and them a war of extermination. For we will follow them till the last drop of their blood is spilled, or else they will have to exterminate us." And they were like, okay, if you say so, Rigdon, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Basically, this guy walked into town and he was like, if anyone bothers us, one of us better exterminate the other. And the town was like, yes. And he was like, oh, damn it. Oh.
Persecution again. Yeah.
Guys, cross off start by threatening extinction from the ideas list when we get to a new town.
Okay, so a couple of things I want to point out about this scene. First of all, we check in with the bad guys, i.e. the American government, right?
Yeah.
And then they say, the one guy says to the other, he's like, the rumor's unconfirmed, but I hear the Mormons are raising an army against us. They were. The movie doesn't actually mention that. No, that rumor was correct, right? That the movie wants to sell it as this bullshit rumor they were acting on, but no, they were though.
Yeah. No, an army, the army of Israel, and also a shadow enforcement squad that they called the Danites, right? They had two separate armies.
Yes,
armies. And they were like,
that's what he had wrong. He underestimated the number of armies they were raising against the U.S. government.
And they actively warred against the Missouri government, like the Missouri militias. The Battle of Crooked River, they shot and scattered all of the militia. They took prisoners from the Missouri militia and then, scare quotes, let them go so that they could post up a sniper at the end of the road and shoot them dead. Right? They robbed and pillaged towns nearby, the Gentile towns. The Mormons were the fucking problem in this equation.
Yeah. But no, we're going to skip over all of that and jump straight to Haun's Mill in 1838.
Yeah, the Mormon Holocaust. Here we are. Fuck off.
Yeah, so they're in Haun's Mill, and the lynch mob just comes to massacre them out of nowhere, guys, just unprovoked because they hated
this movie.
Their purity and anti-slavery stance so very much. But this is where we're going to kill off Johnny, too. Her brother dies in the firefight at Haun's Mill.
Yeah.
And look, this is supposed to be a very tragic scene, and they might have had a chance to emotionally affect me at all if the very first decision a background extra didn't make would be to run in a full petticoat into a frozen river.
Okay, wait. Two things that we have to point out about this scene. Number one, there's a bridge immediately behind her in the scene.
Yeah.
She walks around the bridge.
Everyone else is running across the bridge. And number two, right, she goes to run through the ice, but she breaks through. They just told us it's October 30th, right?
Yep.
Good and damn well it ain't froze over by October 30th.
And secondly about this scene, and I'm going to say most importantly, at 19 minutes and 11 seconds, there is a woman in blackface.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yep. I had to rewind it a few times. Yep.
They very clearly were like, guys, everyone's white in this scene. Because they were so anti-slavery, we need to play it up. And one woman raised her hand. One hero raised her hand and was like, I've got a great idea.
I have some shoe polish right here. I think you're right. I saw that coming in your notes as I was watching it, and I'm like, no, Eli always says weird shit like that. He's just making fun of some poor black woman. And then I saw it, I'm like, I don't think he is.
19 minutes and 11 seconds. You decide, listening audience. You decide.
You got to be sympathetic to the filmmakers. This was the 1990s. The church didn't have any black members to play extras. Okay?
That's true. No, that is true.
I got to say A for adapt, improvise, and overcome. Good job, guys.
All right, but ultimately they're massacred at Haun's Mill, and the feds tell them they need to get the fuck out of Missouri. This is also where Joseph Smith is arrested.
Well, and hang on, during the actual massacre, I don't know whose idea what this was, but it's like, let's hold up in this tiny building with slats that are wide enough to fit gun barrels through. Like, oh, yeah, good one, Bill. Everything will be great then. Like, you fucking, like, this is the worst idea. You just created a death box for yourself.
Right. No, exactly. We'll have them reverse surrounded. Yeah. All right. So, okay. But they get massacred and they have to regroup in Commerce, Illinois. And they say, I love this scene starts with, we settled in a sick infested swamp on the Mississippi. And I'm like, that is the nicest way anyone has ever described Illinois. I think right there. That was the high point for Illinois descriptors.
Yep. And again, the narration here is like, we regrouped inside a swamp. Not the best plan kind of on us, if I'm being honest, to stay in the swamp. Anyways, I got sick and got healed by our Jesus. Let's get to that scene. Where we get the passive-aggressive healing scene.
Yes.
Oh, this was weird. This was weird, especially because we know that Joe's going to be raping her soon.
But,
right?
Yeah, right. So Eliza's got the flu and she's losing her faith because her brother got shot to death in the face and their savior is in prison. Mm-hmm. But this is just like, oh, you got to keep the faith, lady. And Joseph Smith shows up and he's like, I was released from prison.
Did they like censor out the truth for this film? I was, see his mouth continuing to move like an old Godzilla boom. Released from prison. Fuck a child. Oh, sorry. They kept the fuck a child part.
Yeah, this movie is the Bill Barr summary of Mormon history.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah, and this was really weird, too, because, like, Joe comes to her bedside to heal her when she's inches from death. And then it's weird, too, because she doesn't look up first, and he just walks up and grabs her hand, which, super fucking creepy, right? And you, like, you get an eighth of a second of an interaction where she's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then he's like, he's the most beautiful, smiling, humble, pious prophet, and he says, you look quite the way I feel, sister, with his fuck me eyes turned up to 11. Like, goddamn Prince Charming. This, this was a troubling time to see Joseph Smith.
Again, way more uncomfortable when you know that in the real history, he rapes that girl.
Yep. Are you better yet? You're about to turn 21. And that's really starting to get up there for me. Yep. I'm Joseph Smith. I rape young women, and I approve of this message.
So I'm going to change out Joseph Smith to Bryce Blankenagel.
Yeah, we have a bunch of clips of you saying I'm Bryce Blankenagel.
We do now.
I am not in charge of the edit here. I feel like I need final approval and veto power on this.
All right. So now we're in Liverpool, England, which is, by the way, a distinct place from Western England, Liverpool. West of that is Ireland, people. All right. But it's all the fucking way west is what I'm saying. Anyway, so handsome, accentless British guy is boarding the ship to America because he's ready to be a Mormon now.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And he comes over to the guy who gave him the Book of Mormon. He's like, hey, have some money. And I wanted the guy so badly to be like, oh, yeah, no, I remember. Interest. There's actually quite a bit of interest on it. I'm a Mormon.
Shrewd. And then, of course, he says, now we're even. And he's like, no, I will be forever in your debt, John, because you're the one who sold me a false religion and forced me to uproot my life and immigrate across the country and then eventually head out to Utah to starve and die of dysentery.
That being said, I will be fucking your crazy smoking hot daughter by the end of this. Yep. So worth it.
So it's not all bad.
Yep. So, okay, and then now we cut to, we're in Nauvoo in 1841, and over again, we've seen these montages of industrious Mormons trying to build a city that they're going to get run out of. So my note on this one was just, and then we built another castle, and it burned down, fell over, and then sank into the swamp.
You can see the extras, like, half-hearting it. They're like, all right.
I think I burned this one down, too. Guys.
Mormon City, take 47. This one's gonna be Zion. I wouldn't pound those stakes too deep in, Mitch. If I was you, maybe just put them under something heavy.
Like, there's a reason the Israelites made the tabernacle portable, guys.
Yeah, right.
Why are we building this shit out of stone? It's fucking stupid. And I love this too, because the narrator says, truly Joseph Smith was a prophet of God. Within 3 years, the city of Nauvoo rose like a miracle from the dreary swamps of commerce. It became the largest city in the state of Illinois. Like, yeah, so we're judging the metric of the truthfulness of a religion based on how well they can build a building. Okay. But so do we know how Nauvoo was actually built? It was debt and counterfeit money.
Yes.
That's how Nauvoo was built. And it turns out that that's a lot easier way to build a city than saying it's the one true religion. Oh, he just signed dozens of contracts for hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And then him and his merry pranksters just made up a whole bunch of fake money to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
right.
great.
He owns
that's fine.
a bank.
Ayn
and
Rand
put his
would
own
love Nauvoo. That's all I'm saying.
Right. But hey, it's time for a musical break. The entire town is going to get together and sing a Boy Is Nauvoo Great hymn.
I wrote in my notes, oh, damn, this hymn is my jam, everyone in Nauvoo.
Well, they're all just like in perfect tune and everything with each other.
And I love this too, because like the cornerstone is suspended above the ground before they lower it. And it's the most perfectly square stone that I have ever seen. And it's just blowing side to side in the wind.
And the only other thing about this scene that I love is the super duper casual, I'm going to marry your daughter thing. Literally, this is what happens. Old guy, Jacob, who has now seduced this teenager, is like, hey, welcome back. I'm going to marry your daughter. And the father responds by saying, cool. This is David. Sorry, I don't want to be rude. This is David. And yeah, you can marry my daughter.
Well, and I also love David because David, at this point, from this point on for the rest of the movie, every time he sees Jacob and Eliza, he will say something along the lines of, damn, Jacob, you're really, really, really lucky that you get to have sex with this beautiful, amazingly hot woman. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Jacob? You said something about I had to hammer something or something. I was talking about how fuckable your wife was, my fiance was.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a based on history type of documentary like this is if there weren't competing love interests.
Right. Well, exactly how real world stuff works. All right. So David introduces himself to Joseph Smith. Very big moment in David's life. David is a handsome, accentless British guy that now wants to fuck Eliza, even though she's engaged to Jacob.
Sexy Tarzan. I like David.
And now Sexy Tarzan is on screen with Sexy Joseph Smith. I have never wanted anything to turn into gay porn more in my entire life.
Oh, and he fanboys out. It's the weirdest scene. He's like, hi, stupid. I joined your religion?
But Joey kind of fanboys out about himself, too. Right?
He humble brags it, too.
Oh, yeah. He's like, oh, well, I'm only a human being. Well, what am I? A human being. I mean, barely. Barely.
Yeah, friends call me Joseph Christ.
He has this great fake humble brag moment where he goes, please call me Brother Joseph, prophet of God. Don't leave that second bit out, but yeah.
Wild card. Wild.
Yeah, and then David, Sexy Tarzan, says, I was baptized by John Williams in England. That's a real guy. And then Joe says, oh, you're totally a brother now. Here's a special handshake.
Yeah.
I love it. Did you bring any daughters with you here?
No, but I'll let you use my wife later. So David says, tell me what you want to do. And Joey's like, was that it? Were you often sex there? If not, then I have some shit you can hammer. But if so, I got some shit you can hammer.
I got a sex vibe, but
okay,
you tell me.
I got something you can hammer. If you got someone, I can hammer.
There you go. So now we cut to the quarry where 50% of the remainder of this movie will take place, right? They're stocking up for their awesome temple. And we get the scene where David basically comes up and goes like, damn, Jacob, your fiance is so hot and awesome and beautiful and amazing. I sure wish that I got to have sex with her. And Jacob is like, well, thank you very much. Thank you. That's a very nice thing for you to say.
Jacob's the best. He's the guy handing out food at the orgy. Just like, are you getting enough water? You getting enough Gatorade, bud? You're fucking so great right now, man. I'm so proud of you and the way you're fucking.
Jacob is the guy that like finds out who the seed bearers are. He's like, hey, you want to spend a night with us? It'd be really cool if you did. Now, okay, so when they're making these blocks, I thought this was amazing. The stone blocks, they are all perfectly square, and they're huge too. All of the rough stones that the masons are working on there are much smaller than the square blocks that surround them. So I guess that's like they shape them roughly and then they like transmute them into perfect cubes or something. Is that how masonry works? Get back to me, man.
They built them with energon cubes. It's a whole thing. So, okay. So we have a quick scene where the dad tells handsome British guy, he's like, hey, knock it out, Mr. Handsome British guy. My daughter's going to marry that bald guy. He already paid me a good price for her. And then we get immediately after that, Jacob standing there in the middle of town going, I cut wood faster than anyone. Why, who would like to bet my future wife's vagina on their ability to cut wood faster than me? And David's like, hey, you know what? I would like to do that.
I wanted a montage of all the times that Jacob has said that and no one's taken him up on it. Just gets pulled to the side. Hey, man, you got to stop trying to bet her vagina on your wood cutting stuff. I really appreciate you bringing those Oreos. That was great. But stop trying to high five people at the orgy. You're wrecking the vibe, right? You're making it weird.
Well, and I love, so this tells you how clever David is, right? The guy's like, I want to do a wood chopping challenge with somebody. And he's like, I'll wood chop with you. He's like, let's put a little something on the line. He's like, what do you have in mind? He's like, first dance with your fiance. And Jacob's so fucking stupid. He's like, yes. Like, dude, you already had that locked down. Like, Mr. Handsome British guy should have to put up something too, right?
But if I lose, you have to dance with her. Wait.
Yeah,
1 second.
Hold on.
High five.
And I love this too, because once the actual competition starts, David like rolls up his sleeves in slow motion and flips back his hair, and the sun is shining off of the sweat glistening arms. And Eliza was fucking the shit out of Muscle Tarzan here. I was wet for her.
I gotta say,
beautiful scene.
Back in the 1830s, apparently 1840s, women were way cooler with you betting them on wood chopping contests. But I will say though, watching these two guys try to outcut wood from each other, still more interesting than Over the Top's finale. That is a better way that movie could have gone if it was a lumberjack contest.
That is fair.
And this also strikes me as something that Heath would do with his dad just for fun.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. There is no way in hell.
Cutting.
Yes, absolutely. The two of them haven't done it, and that Heath didn't get a toothpick and a fucking English muffin as punishment for beating his dad.
Right, started doing it wrong. His dad hit him with a car or some other hellish story that he just now realized isn't funny. Oh no, you'll like this one. Trust
you only
me.
Measured once.
So I messed it up, right? And so Dad, he has this pickup truck, and I have tonsillitis. So my bedroom, he feeds this hose that's attached to the tailpipe into my window.
Okay, moving on. All right.
I bought myself shoes with the nickname I made for myself.
So now we cut to the dance that they were talking about, that they were betting first dance with her at this dance. So we cut to the dance so that we can learn that Mormons do too know how to fucking party.
Oh yeah.
I love Jacob standing over in cuckold corner watching it, kind of jerking off through his pants as this very handsome guy dances with his fiance. They're doing the dirty dancing crawl scene together and shit.
Yeah. But it's all okay because you could fit a Book of Mormon edgewise between them. So it's not sitting quite yet.
Is that how they measure it?
Yeah. Widthwise though.
And then David walks her home in the fastest escalating courtship I've ever seen. Now, I'm not ex-Mormon, but the fastest one I've ever seen. He says, I'd like to call on you. She says no, to which he responds, marry me, to which she responds, you sound just like my brother.
What was that? That was so, and then she's like, well, but I'm betrothed to Jacob and he's like a father to me. Wait, you're doing fucking wrong.
Yeah. This is this conversation straight out of BYU. First date ever. This is it. Yep.
This girl definitely has a thing, and I just wanted the movie to acknowledge it.
Eliza, I would have you for my wife.
Why do I have to be the girl?
Just do it, Bryce.
Okay. Oh, David, you sound just like my brother.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
My brother, Johnny. So strong of will and arm was he.
Oh, okay. But maybe don't compare me to your brother right after I proposed to you.
Very well, but I cannot be your wife, for I am promised to Jacob.
But I love you more.
But he's like a father to me.
Jesus, what?
I did it again, didn't I?
Yes, right after I said it, you did.
Sorry, look, David, I long for you. I love you like a sister.
Well, come on.
Like a stepbrother? Like the pornos?
Okay, fine, but only because we're Mormons. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have much rather been watching incest porn with this woman.
Less genocide in those.
Yeah. Depends on the genre. And also, I want to point out, this is another time when I feel like there's the ex-Mormon on the writing crew, because she, as they're walking and, chatting and whatnot, she says, your work on the sunstone for the temple is exquisite. Now that's going to come back, but we'll talk. I think we'll talk about it later, but the whole sunstone thing is really controversial and weird in Mormon history. But once again, this is their movie. They don't have to have that in there, but somebody was just sly enough to slip that little reference in there.
Gotcha. And so that you would know what it meant, and none of us would. All right. So, but basically, Eliza says, I don't want to date you. I'm betrothed to this other guy. And then he kisses her. And because Mormon girls are like cookies, whoever licks her first gets her.
Yep.
So this is pretty much sealed now.
He might as well go to Jacob's house, knock on the door, and be like, dibs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You like apples? Yeah.
And this was clearly non-consensual. She was surprised by this. The movie built up to it, and there's nice music in the background, so it's all okay, right? But also, she's married to Joseph Smith this whole time that these two competing love interests are going at each other. Okay. So, okay. And, revealing that this is all fiction, because she was married to Joseph Smith, she wouldn't have actually been at the dance parties. A lot of his younger wives left behind accounts that they were very frustrated in Nauvoo that Joseph wouldn't let them to go to the dance parties because he was scared somebody like Sexy Tarzan would suck him up. So,
wow.
Yep.
Again,
cool.
First person licks him. All right. Well, this movie's getting a little racy for Mormon Movie Month, so we're going to pause for a quick trip to the fainting couch. But first, let me give Act 3 the hard sell. Will the Mormons kill the fuck out of a lot of people? Will that somehow not make it into the movie? Why or why not? Show your work. Find out the answers to these questions and more when we return for the It Just Ends conclusion of Legacy, the story of the Mormon pioneers. Seriously, this was a documentary where somebody basically shows up and goes no more questions, no further questions.
Jacob Wool's take on Mormonism.
Whenever Heath takes a vacation, we usually like to have a little fun at his expense while we're gone, whether it's buying HeathEnright.com and directing it to the ramen page or starting the hashtag Heath doesn't watch the movies. But luckily for us, Heath wrote us this week's Wix ad to read while he's gone.
Hey, Noah.
Hello, Eli. Boy, I sure do miss Heath because he is smart and funny and the best on our shows.
He's probably the smartest guy in the world, a towering intellect only matched by his abnormal stature and contrasted by his intoxicating laugh.
You said it, Bryce. He is smart and funny, and that is the joke. It's funny how funny and smart he is.
Websites.
Yes, websites are almost as good and funny as Heath is. And when I make a website, I use Wix.com.
Heath knows what Wix.com is because he's smart, but I do not.
Heath knows what everything is. He's a genius.
Wix.com is the best, most beautiful way to build a website that isn't Heath. Because Heath could figure it out, probably. That's the joke, is that Heath is so smart and clever, he could guess how to build a website. That's the joke.
He's probably even smart enough to make 4 different podcasts with his different personalities.
Pause for huge laughs.
No, I think that's a stage direction.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes more since over 140 million people use Wix for their website. You can choose from over 500 stunning templates published for free, and all their websites come with built-in SEO tools.
Wow. How do I get started?
Get started now by going to Wix.com. That's Wix.com/podcast to get 10% off. Wix.com/podcast.
Heath's jokes cover a wide variety of topics, and while he is a master of the English language, he isn't defined by it.
He's a master of all languages. He's basically John D. Is it any mystery why Heath likes geometry so much and goes by 007?
And when you think about it, that is both very funny and his thing.
Yep.
As we descend further into the hellscape that is this movie, it's worth considering that despite all that this shows us, this is their sunny lie. So with that in mind, and thanks to Bryce, we've got another slightly more truthful dramatic reading by John Amundsen, circa 1876.
Since we were still 1,000 miles away, many who were acquainted with the climatic conditions of the region were of the opinion that we ought to winter in Florence. But the oldest son of the prophet, H.C. Kimball, then rode into the camp and delivered a speech in which he sternly rebuked those of little faith, and he promised that he would stuff into his mouth all the snow they would ever get to see on their journey to the valleys. With this, of course, every doubt had to vanish altogether. We thought we had now suffered the worst, but now cold and nakedness were added to hunger and overstrain. During the night, the snow had fallen a foot deep, and the area around Sweetwater now appeared doubly desolate and comfortless. Our last provisions had been distributed, and as for the animals, where were they to find fodder? 3 days slipped by, but no wagons came. Captain Kimball now decided to make forced marches. The next morning, 14 immigrants were found frozen dead in our camp. 2 more died later on in the day. They were all buried in a large rectangular grave, which because of the cold had to be dug out in the ground by oxen. This was the first fruit of the forced march of George Kimball, the snow prophet. I myself was simple-minded enough to threaten him that I would present a complaint against him to Brigham Young. "Oh, you trusting simpleton," the prophet laughed right in my face. It was no longer necessary for him to wear the mask of his counterfeit holiness. Through the Mormon's sheep's fleece, the wolf's claws were beginning to show. Secret History, circa 1876, by John Amundsen.
And we're back for more of this shit. When we last left off, David was kiss-raping Eliza, and we're going to pick back up with him surreptitiously courting her against her will. Now, the music is certain that this is all kinds of charming, right?
Yep.
So don't worry, it's not inappropriate. All right, meanwhile, back to stone quarrying.
With the least realistic hammering sound effect I've ever seen. He's like very gently moving his arm in hammering directions, and the sound is like kapaw hammer. Kapaw hammer. Like they ran out of money, and the guy was like, "Okay, so what do we got to leave out of the movie?" And they were like, "Just the hammering sound effects." And he was like, "Way ahead of you. Give me a tin can with some string and the reel of the final film."
And I love this too, because right before we go to the stone quarry, there's like a 3-second scene where David, Sexy Tarzan, pulls a flower from a flower cart and gives it to Eliza. And Jacob is sitting in a carriage that is like that Eliza is standing near. And as Sexy Tarzan is walking away, Jacob turns around and looks, and we see the birth of the jealous girlfriend meme. It is beautiful. This was 15 years before Reddit was born. And here it is. This is the OG jealous meme. I love it. I loved it. Okay.
Well, and then, okay, so right after that, in the quarrying scene, we have to resolve this love triangle, obviously, and we do it in the laziest, dumbest way possible.
Not even the Mormon way of marry both of them.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, not at all. Well, it's because it's 2 guys, but yeah, the other love triangles going the other way are not a problem for the Mormons. But Jacob basically just comes up to him with a hammer, and he says, "Hey, I can see that you want to fuck my fiance." And David's like, yeah. And he's like, "Okay, have at it." And then he leaves.
Yeah.
He's so remarkably cool. He's like, "So, you're courting the woman I'm engaged to?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I think she should choose, because honestly, it's about her." And he's just like, well, you were just super not a pilgrim and not Mormon, but I have nothing to do with it. I'm going to go back to my weird hammer sound effect. You just blew my fucking mind, dude.
Yeah, so, yeah, but Eliza has to struggle over handsome, tall, accentless British Tarzan guy and older, bald guy that trades away first dancer with her over a wood sawing competition and reminds her of her father. She chooses wisely.
And I love this too, like so she gets to decide between us, right? Like we've already decided her fate.
Between the two of us, yeah.
It's you or me, brother, right? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so they come back, she's fucking Catherine. Oh, I thought you said
You said I'd choose. You know what? That's on us. All right, Jacob, stop, man.
Tarzan could just marry both of them, and then all that conflict resolves itself. Her and Eliza and Catherine.
Oh, I was thinking and Jacob. Yeah. I was having way more fun with this movie than you were, but okay.
Oh yeah, I'm in just about any way that you draw the lines between all of the constellations here. It turns out pretty great.
Yeah, you get a pretty picture no matter how you connect those dots. Amen, brother. All right. So she marries David, and they show him married, and like I love. Okay, so he sneaks up behind her and blindfolds her, and I'm like, oh, kinky shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a Mormon movie, so
look,
no.
If the rest of this movie had been a scene-for-scene Pilgrim remake of 9.5 Weeks, this is my favorite movie.
No.
But no, he made her a chair.
Yeah, he finished that chair. Her brother never finished for mom. He finished it for her.
And this is when it all comes back around. The sunstone is carved into the chair.
Okay, now, really quickly, before you tell us what that means, let me tell you what it means to everyone who doesn't know Mormonism and sees this. It means he fucked up the chair by carving some ugly shit into it.
It's so miraculously terrible. It's hilarious.
It really is. It's so awful. She's just like, a normal person would be like, well, I'm going to need some epoxy for this now, I guess, but okay.
If a toddler brought that chair home, you'd be like, hey, what did we say about messing up the furniture? Come on.
Everybody sees the fridge, though. We can't put it right up front. The side of the fridge, maybe.
This is perfect for, like, the furnace door. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of those, like, this is the ex-Mormon on their writing staff, right? Because what Sunstone is it's a peer-reviewed journal and symposium that's held in Salt Lake City and other various locations that, like, does history that the church does not allow to be told in the over the pulpit, right? So, like, all of everything that we know about Mormon history in the peer-reviewed academic sense, a lot of that was spurned by the foundation of Sunstone Symposium. And in the early 90s, when this was made, there were, like, the church leaders were publicly declaring, do not go to Sunstone Symposium because they're just academics. They're telling truths that are not very useful. And that's where, like, all of what we know about Joseph Smith really comes from. All of the magic shit, all of the treasure digging, the seer stones, everything, all of the most controversial Mormon history, almost all of that has been presented at Sunstone Symposium. And boom, they got the Sunstone on this chair. It didn't need to be in there. They did not need to talk about this. But because there was an ex-Mormon on the writing staff, they get it in there. And it made my heart sing to see that Sunstone there.
Amazing. All right, so now so we get Joseph Smith. He's we're in the Nauvoo Temple in 1844. It's not quite done.
Oh, yes.
So Joey is standing up there on, I guess, open mic night at the temple, absolutely slaying the audience. He's like, me without persecution, could you imagine? It'll be like, like a fish without water. Am I right? I'd just be flopping around over here with my gills. This guy gets it over here. This guy gets it with the gills.
He's fucking a stool. Right? Lamanites be trying to kill me like this. But Nephites be trying to kill me like this.
And in the end, it was the apostates that got him. and like, the thing is like, this is his famed King Follett discourse that he's giving in April of 1844. Like, this is the culmination of all of his most insane theology and languages and magic and esoteric rites all put together into this one final speech that he delivered twice in April of 1844, just 2 months before he died, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is like, he talks endlessly in this talk about the persecution that he's been suffering And it makes you think, after 14 years of doing this shit with constant persecution, maybe it's you, Joe.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the problem in this.
Well, okay, but so here's what we get. This is what of the speech we get. First of all, we get him going like, okay, guys, this is going to be my last speech. I'm totally supposed to get shot to death. It's part of the plan. It's all in the heavenly writing or whatever. And then he goes, now y'all are going to hear a lot of slanderous shit about me after I'm here to preemptively deny the things that people haven't said about me yet, like all innocent people do. No
Also,
collusion.
I love his amazing technicality thing as his final moment. He's like, we are the Church of Jesus Christ. Of Latter-day Saints. That's a copyright thing. I'm in trouble. I don't know why I chose to end on this. Patent pending. Some restrictions apply. Please see website for full details. God damn it.
Property of intellectual reserve. We will sue the shit out of you. And I love this because he finishes his talk by saying, but their persecutions are vain. Their accusations are false. Literally all of their accusations were true.
And they're about to kill him.
Their persecutions
Yes.
weren't in vain because they succeeded at fucking killing him in a jail cell.
Like
they
2 days
persecuted him
later.
to death. Dude, what's after this? Like, Jesus Christ, man. No man knows my history.
All right. So, yeah, now we cut to the fateful day. It's June 27th, 1844, and Jacob is riding through the quarry to announce that Joey's been shot. And everybody's like, what about didn't he have the bulletproof underwear? And they're like, don't ask about the underwear. God damn it.
Wait, did he kill anybody when he got shot?
No,
Well, yeah,
I gotta go. I'm running late. I have to tell the other side of the stone quarry, too.
This running through the town to tell the story thing is so fantastic. He's like, they murdered Joseph Smith. Technically. Okay, I'm going to say some more stuff legally. I'm contractually obligated to say some more stuff, but that's all you need to know. So here's what was happening. He was trying to escape the jail, and he had brought some friends with him, and then they came into the upstairs, and he started to shoot, and he pretended to be a Mormon, or he pretended to be a Mason, and they were like, dude, that doesn't work, and they shot him in the face.
Shoot the bastard.
All right, but David's very depressed. He's like, well, this is probably wrong if our guy got shot and killed, right? But she hasn't lost her faith, damn it. It must have been God must have intended for them to move on without Joseph Smith at this part with no kind of schisms or anything.
No.
He's like, I don't know, after our prophet dies, isn't that kind of proof that our religion's bullshit? And she's like, well, as someone who has made it through 46 failed attempts at Zion, I'm going to go ahead and double the fuck down again. And I'm going to need you to double the fuck down with me, David. Because not all of us had a first and second act that involved being in England and getting on a boat. Dick face.
My brother was literally shot. Fuck you.
Yeah.
No, and this is amazing too, because this is almost a point where Sexy Tarzan broke the fourth wall, because he's like, he had an army at his command, yet he allowed himself to be. One of the greatest markers of the one true religion is the prophet of it having an army at his command.
And
Jesus
a
Christ.
special forces. Yeah, and a secret service.
Whistling Whittling Brigade. Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, but and then I also love the way that they present them leaving Nauvoo, right? Because they can't really tell that story in their story either, which is, then the church split up and it was bloody, and some of them followed this guy and some of them followed that guy, and this guy left, and this guy, we hung him in his basement. They can't tell any of that shit. So and it makes no sense because they have to present it anyway as, and then we finished that temple we'd been working so hard on and left voluntarily because we all wanted to.
Well, this temple is all set up. I feel like we should probably leave. What else are we going to do? Worship in it? Yeah, yes. Sounds stupid just saying it. No, this is for future Mormons to sell weird trinkets at.
And they didn't show the clip of Brigham Young saying, torch that shit on our way out of town.
Wait, did they do that? Did they actually burn it down?
Yeah, it burned down. and then a tornado hit it, and then lightning struck it, and then there was all that was left was the facade. And in like 1860 or 1870s, the Illinois government was like, "This is a hazard. We don't have building codes, but Jesus Christ, bring this motherfucker down. This is going to kill somebody." And then in 2000, the church built it back up again.
Well, of course, yeah.
With all the symbolism in it too, all the moonstones and suns. Anyway, okay, we're way off track. But yeah, of course, they don't talk about like the state of Illinois disincorporating the church and revoking the Nauvoo charter and like the Battle of Nauvoo. And they don't talk about any of that. No, we're just cutting to Mississippi River in 1846.
Yeah, as they all voluntarily left together after burning down the temple they just finished with no schisms at all. And of course, I'm watching this and I'm thinking like, guys, you're caulking the wagons. Never caulk the fucking wagons. Wait for the river to go down. But they caulk the wagons. So then they track. Now, I should say, from this point on, this movie will have a Lord of the Rings trilogy amount of people walking. Right? The rest of the movie is walking.
Yep. Well, and I love how Eliza sets up this montage too, because she's like, the call as they're showing them crossing the river and everything, she's like, the call of Zion was in our ears, but the memory of Nauvoo was in our hearts, and the trauma of polygamy was in our vaginas.
I love too. There's this moment where like they're walking, but then we have to see him rain walking too, and David is like he's got their wagon in the wagon train, and it has to like fall into a gully or something. I don't know why it has to, but it's this ridiculous slow motion stunt where everybody like basically stops for just a second and goes, "All right, everybody, all right, okay, we're okay. We can keep going. We can keep going."
Dude, the horse's performance in this scene is the best in the entire movie. Because the horse starts to pull the thing back again, and they're like, "Hey, no, stop, don't. I get it. You don't know we're making a movie. You've just got a heavy thing attached to you." And like the horse calls its agent, like there's an angry smoking horse outside a set being like, "This is fucking bullshit. They said I was going to be the horse that saved the day. Now I'm a fucking under 5? No, Maury, this isn't acceptable. I don't care if it keeps my SAG card for another 6 months. I gotta quit.
And in this scene too, this is a very small detail, and you got to pause it at the right time to see it. But when Bilbo, the old man, fucks up his leg, they drag him up and like lay around him. Tarzan humps him like a chihuahua for a second.
He really does.
Shit. It's yeah, okay. I'm glad you caught it too. I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw this.
So what it is the actor who plays David is trying to cheat out to camera because he's like, "Hey, this might be the DVD color," but instead he just sort of like keeps scooting his body in because he's not quite in frame. And you see the actor who plays the dad being like, cut it out, man.
I'm feeling the 6 point of fellowship. I don't like this. Two people got that joke.
Okay, that's what matters.
Generous.
And now the migration stops off in Council Bluffs, Iowa in 1846, right as the Mexican-American War is starting. And the army apparently is so desperate at this point they're willing to take Mormons. So David is going to go off to kill some Mexicans.
I want Army recruiter guy's story. Just riding up to strangers on the Oregon Trail. Hey, you want to fight some Mexicans? Yes. All right, have at it. Bye.
Are any of them Christian? Mostly not, sort of, but a lot of them.
Kinda.
Are they Protestant? No, most of them are Catholic. Oh, fuck yeah. Let's kill the shit out of them.
Let's do it.
Right.
Yeah.
We won't need those guys until they kick us out of this country for polygamy.
Yeah, so David gets to join up the Mormon battalion, and we get this teary-eyed forest scene between Eliza and sexy Tarzan.
Yeah, and Eliza is sure that this is the one that's going to get her the Oscar.
Oh, absolutely.
Heart and soul into this one scene, yeah.
So, yeah, she says, that we'll meet again in Zion. And then there's this really weird scene. Okay, this felt like they were trying to hint to us that there's way more fucked up shit here, but they're not going to tell us. Right, this is the winter of 1846. She's like, the winter of 1846 was a terrible, terrible time that I never want to think about again. Anyway, so now it's spring of 1847. Anyway,
she goes, I don't want to talk about it. And the movie fucking doesn't. I immediately was like, Mormons, winter of 1846. What Donner Party shit did this movie miss? This movie has been able to sunny side an attempted genocide. And they were like, we're not touching the winter of 1846. All right.
Lots of dead babies.
Yeah.
Well, and like if you go, so I've been to winter quarters. They have like a visitor center there and like a history center and stuff. And the center is across the street from the cemetery that they have, that they buried everybody there in winter quarters. And it was shit. Like winter quarters fucking suck for the Mormons. We can't mix any words about that. Right. So they have in the visitor center entire murals, entire walls, like war veterans of children under the age of 8 who died at winter quarters.
Jesus.
And the lists are really fucking long.
Wow.
It was bad. Really fucking bad.
Well,
time.
right. And here's the thing and that's exactly why they can't say anything about it in this movie, because as soon as you think to yourself, wow, a lot of kids died just so that you guys could keep your weird fucking religion on the move and keep having sex with multiple women and shit, then all of a sudden it's real obvious you're the bad guys.
Did you see them desperately searching their old-timey pockets? I don't have keys to jingle. I got a jingly weird watch. Gold coins that he handed out to people. Jingly weird gold coins.
And I thought this was super meta, right? Because at one point, Eliza is arguing with Bilbo because Bilbo's got his fucked up leg. And she's like, no, you're going. God damn it, Dad. Right. Then she says, Zion is waiting. Let's help God keep his promise.
What?
And I thought that was the picture perfect dialogue to summarize this entire religion in one exchange. Let's help God keep his promise that one dude who's fucking 50 wives tells us God said. Just one more hill to climb, one more lesson to give, one more time fucking your wife that you don't love. It's one more trial, and then God will finally keep his promise.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's troubling.
All right. So then they walk some more, but don't worry, it's silhouetted this time. So it's not the same exact tape. You know what made me really sad was during this scene, it occurred to me that those are all extras. They didn't CGI in. They didn't have like 4 people walking different lines. This is all extras that they actually brought together and dressed in all this old timey shit. That makes it really sad.
I have a theory about this, and ex-Mormon listeners right now will probably be like, oh, yeah, of course this is it. But a lot of teenagers, when they are growing up in the church, go on what they call Pioneer Trek that happens every 2 years or every 4 years in wards. And basically, you just rotate around different locations across the country that the church owns a shitload of property, and you reenact the Mormon Pioneer Walk, the whole trek. And you like,
kill a bunch of children in Nebraska?
And Indians too.
Oh, okay.
But you have to go, like, you pack up your entire life into these 5-gallon buckets. You get hand carts to push along that are just, mock up, like, period time vintage hand carts. And you dress up in like ye olde clothes that you buy for 75 cents from DI. And you go live in the woods, roughing it for 5 days, for a week. And you walk for hours, for 6 to 8 hours every day. And like, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But when the Mormon battalion goes, they like create this situation. Oh, and my theory is that like they just during one of these Mormon treks, that's like, we're going to bring some cameras along and have our stars. Right. So that's how they were able to fund this, because it was all free anyway.
Yeah. But
during Mormon trek, they have what they call the women's pull in order to simulate what happened with the Mormon battalion and most of the men going to leave for the Mormon battalion. They didn't actually kill any Mexicans. They like built a road and then they came back, right? Some of them died from dysentery, but of course.
Well, yeah, the vast majority of deaths in that war were from malaria and dysentery and shit like that. Yeah.
Oregon Trail, you got to love it. So that's like during this women's poll, like all of the men, I experienced this too. It's a very moving time. It's a very, there's just a lot of like cult mind control that's happening here. You just stand at the edges of this hill and you just watch all of the women push their handcarts up the hill. And it's supposed to symbolize this time when all of the men left, And all of the women just had to make their way in the world, make it the hardest push of entire pioneer trek is all the women doing it. If only that were like modeled in actually the religion itself of like women doing a lot of the work. No, but still it's a very moving experience to put kids through at a young age. And it's kind of like the mission. You go for the missions, you go for the missionaries. They go to like create a cultural shielding away from any of the anti-Mormon literature out there that might penetrate that shielding later on in your life.
Bryce, you're being a downer on our Pilgrim movie.
All right, so I tell you what. Let me bring up the mood. Let me bring up the mood.
Cut it all. Cut all of it. Just cut it out. I have a theory, and then Eli's comment.
All right, no, but I can bring up the mood. We are about to get by far my favorite scene in this movie or any Mormon movie we've ever done. Not any movie we've ever done, but any Mormon movie at all. This is the part where Eliza gives a pep talk to the wounded ox.
This is the best.
Like, it is impossible to believe that this wasn't a joke, right? Like, she was doing this to fuck with the writers, and the director's so dumb, he was like, roll with it. She sits there and gives this, because she just had to give her dad this pep talk about, Dad, I know you have the lame leg, but you're going to make it to Zion. Don't give up on us. She's now giving the same fucking pep talk to this ox that's broken its leg. I wanted Dad to be sitting there rolling his eyes. Oh, I thought I was special. Shit, she's going to do that to a broken fucking wheel next, ain't she?
Yeah. This shows like how this movie hits with different people. Because as I was a kid, like watching this in the Legacy Theater, I was crying my eyes out, right? Because this pep talk, she's like, I've dragged my family 500 miles. I can't pull the wagon. And then she prays to God. And she's like, I'm sure you can't. You're sick of my constant bitching about how hard life is, but you healed me and I know you can heal this ox. And like for Mormons watching this, that is the most emotive part about this movie.
Oh
like that
God.
is the tearjerker. And you watch it and you're like, fuck, you're talking to an ox.
That's hilarious. I want to go watch this with Mormons now. I want to go watch. I'm going to sit backwards in a theater where this is playing in Salt Lake City sometime.
Just watch Mormons watch this movie. Is this like your remains of the day? Your lies of others? Right? Like you're sitting around with a bunch of other teenagers and they're talking about Seventh Seal and you're like, no. You guys want to see some fucking filmmaking? You go watch this scene with the ox. That ox still shows up at Comic-Con, signs pictures, tries to fuck 17-year-olds. It's weird.
They have tissue boxes at the entrance to the theater, and not for the reason that Eli might need them.
So
it can be both.
All right. So anyway, so a couple kids come running through after she cures the ox with her plucky attitude and refusal to back down. The kids come running through to tell them that the Mormon battalion's back. David made it home just fine because it was a really small time war and the vast majority of American deaths were from disease or just getting lost in deserts like idiots.
And then, and really, correct me if I'm wrong on this, mid-sentence, as she is saying her husband came back, it fades back to present day like she ran out of fucking doodly-doo. Am I crazy?
No, it was a harsh shift from one to the other. We were just suddenly, like the floor fell out from under the doodly-doo or something. There were basically like fucking repo guys showing up for the old-timey shit as that changed, yeah. So we cut back to old lady Eliza telling this story, and she gives little Popeye her copy of the Book of Mormon that Joseph Smith gave her when she was only 13, and he decided he was eventually going to fuck her.
Yeah. In this moment, like, you have to read the undertones. She's like, this is the book the prophet Joseph Smith gave me a few years before he raped me. But hey, you know what? I'm a woman in a disgustingly sexist religion, and I'm wife number 21 of 56. And this is the Victorian era. So I'm taking this trauma and night terrors right with me to the fucking grave.
Yes.
Sure, grandson, go get baptized. I don't give a fuck. You're a boy. This religion's awesome for you.
and her grandson looks her in the face and he's like, so you got a free book? And she's like, yeah, I got a free book. That's basically what I'm saying.
Well, I love to basically the last line they give her is, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but she basically says, and remember, make sure you're always a Mormon or your grandma will have died for nothing.
Never stop being Mormon, Jebediah Blankenagel. Never stop being Mormon. You basically got the film equivalent of my mother's emails. You're so funny. You don't need to swear. You don't need it.
All right, but then, okay, and then the movie ends, but there's like 3 minutes of just blackness as though they accidentally wrote the credits with a black font and didn't realize it.
If we want to make it to the prestigious platform known as YouTube.
Well, but that's what I'm wondering if there's a whole bunch of shit at this end of this movie that just says, whatever you do, don't put this shit on YouTube or the fucking god-awful movies guys will find it, that they had to black out or something at the end here. Because, like, there's music that goes on for like 3 minutes over a black screen at the end.
Well, that's because in the Legacy Theater, that's like they're playing people out. They have the super emotive music. They close the curtains in front of the screen and they let the music keep playing and playing as everybody just dries their eyes and filters out of the theater.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm getting to this a little late. The Legacy this movie has its own theater. Is this like playing constantly at some Mormon museum or something?
Yeah, in the Joseph Smith building in Salt Lake City.
No.
It used to. No, it used to. Hang on. It used to. But then the movie that I came on the podcast last time for, the Joseph Smith Prophet.
Oh, really?
Movie,
They've upgraded.
That's the one that replaced it. But this was Legacy in the Legacy Theater, and you couldn't buy tickets. You just had to reserve tickets ahead of time, and it was really hard to get in because every showing the theater was packed.
I've never been more upset. Like this is like, I didn't have time to prepare for a metaphor for this. So 25 minutes of silence while I figure out, this is like learning that Thrive is the third most profitable company on the planet. That's what I'm going through right now.
All right. Well, with Bryce here, I feel like the final question should be pretty obvious. Clearly, they had to leave out a lot of important moments to fit this into the tight 53 minutes. That's why they left him out, trying to keep the movie to a reasonable length, y'all. So, of all the nuggets of Mormon history that they didn't include in this movie, which one disappoints you the most?
That's a really tough one.
This is going to be like this is like asking Heath any question at all in an AMA. You're going to list every ice cream you've ever eaten or whatever.
Heath, what is the best way to cook a steak?
Yeah.
What kind of steak? What kind of fucking steak are we talking about? Okay. So there's a lot to choose from, but I got to say the magic and the symbolism. So like Mormon history is pregnant with symbols and all of the magic worldview that's just hiding in plain sight. And I wish that they did more to pay homage to that history and legacy, keeping the legacy alive, than just that shitty little sunstone carving and the little bit of numerology that they had in the movie. So I'll just ask with a reflective question. Can I collaborate with you guys on your crazy billionaire money remake of this movie?
As long as my favorite part that didn't get into it gets into it, yes, absolutely.
All right.
I was going to go with the reason Joe was in prison in the first fucking place. Followed closely by that time they murdered a bunch of people with that other time they murdered a bunch of people running a close third.
HBO, it just ended. Give us a call.
Right, exactly. If you like murders and disappointing protagonists, you will love Mormonism. Well, see, now I feel like my part of Mormon history is just a little thing, but I was going to go with the time I walked through Temple Square and literally none of the missionaries spoke to me.
Didn't you have on a scathing atheist t-shirt?
No, he didn't.
Oh,
no! I had a Read to Your Bunny, Max and Ruby t-shirt on, and these missionaries from Guatemala were like, look, I saw 3 Holocausts. I know one when I see one. I'm going to the other side of this square.
Oh my God.
All right. So, Bryce, we're almost done with you, but that doesn't mean the listeners are. So if they want to hear more from you, remind them where they should go.
Yeah, Naked Mormonism, that's the serialized Mormon history. And also I do Glassbox Podcast. That's, current events that are big in my circles, but have no impact on the rest of the world.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our review of Legacy. I'm not going to say the fucking subtitle again. That isn't going to do it for the episode just yet, though, because we still need to lure you back in for more. So, Eli, tell us, what's on deck?
The Other Side of Heaven. More movie Mormon-tacular.
Nope, you're not even close. You didn't even say the thing that you were trying to say, which would have still been
Mormon-tacular.
Wrong. All right, so with that to look forward to, we're going to bring episode 198 to a merciful close. Once again, a huge thanks to Bryce Blankenagel for hanging out with us today. Again, check the show notes for a link to his show to see how deep the Mormon rabbit hole goes. And, of course, an even huger thanks to all the Patreon donors that help make the show go. If you'd like to count yourself among their ranks, you can make a per episode donation at patreon.com/godawful, and thereby earn early access to an ad-free version of every episode. You can also help a ton by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes and by sharing the show on all your various social media platforms. And if you enjoyed this show, be sure to check out our sibling shows, The Scathing Atheist, Citation Needed, and The Skeptocrat, available on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else podcasts live. If you have questions, comments, or cinematic suggestions, you can email godawfulmovies@gmail.com. Legal services for this podcast are provided by the law offices of P. Andrew Torres. Tim Robertson takes care of our social media. Our theme song was written and performed by Ryan Slotnick of Evil Giraffes on Mars. All of the music was written and performed by our audio engineer, Morgan Clark, and was used with permission. Thanks again for giving us a chunk of your life this week. For Heath Enright and Eli Bosnick, I'm no Lucius, promise to work harder and another chunk next week. Until then, we'll leave you with a Breakfast Club close.
Later that year, Eliza would provide a deposition that Joseph Smith did, in fact, rape her.
The Mormons killed a lot of fucking people.
Lot.
Eliza's ox went on to start the first union for bovines. Oxfam.
I couldn't have come up with that. That's fucking brilliant, dude.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Thank you. Keith holds me back. What can I say?
All right. John D. That's a John D. reference there?
John D. reference.
All right.
I just wanted to do that a lot.
Enochian.
Yeah, there we go.
Totally.
All right.
And I would be his Edward Kelly. Oh, for that honor. 15 times you couldn't spell my name right a single time.
No, he didn't. I could have fixed it too. Oh my God. Yeah, you're right.
Be named Smith.
You'd have gotten that one right. No, let's see. How many times did he actually miss it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times. That's amazing. All right.
Spelled it the wrong way the same time. At least the error is consistent. I'm impressed.
Right. That's actually way up from normal. All right. Interstitial 1.
Yep, I'm Bryce Blankenagel. I rape young women, and I approve of this message.
The preceding podcast was a production of Puzzle and a Thunderstorm, LLC. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved.